Hello, surfers. I spent the whole morning today walking around the house, occasionally muttering to myself, push out the jive, bring in the love. And getting a random Simpsons quote stuck in your head reminds me of this time when I was... Reminds me of a time when I was at the cinema, probably about a decade ago, and the trailers were running for upcoming movies. And all of a sudden this girl sat behind me came out with, "I wash myself with a rag on a stick." And it cracked me up, and I'm not sure how many other people sitting around us had any idea what it was about, but I certainly recognised the feeling of getting a random Simpsons quote stuck in your head all day. Anyway, that is to say that I'm here, and I've never done anything like this before, but we're going to give it a go and see what happens. I don't know if anyone's going to watch this. I have no expectation, and I kind of hope they don't, as it makes it easier for me to do. But I might be here for a few hours doing this, so we'll give it a go. So anyway, my name is Ricky. I'm ostensibly an artist. As part of being an artist, I draw on a post-it note. Every single day I will do at least one drawing for public consumption, I guess. Sometimes it's work that I draw on post-it notes, but that's getting less frequent. But I've been drawing on post-it notes for about 20 years, unbelievably, and keep doing them as daily drawings for 10 years, and I keep all my drawings in sketchbooks, which gradually inevitably fill up, and they take about 2 years to fill up. I usually historically I've been in a pretty good habit of gluing them in as I go, usually when I fill up a spread, but for some reason this last book I've done over the past 2 years, I completely got out of that habit. But they all still need gluing in, and that kind of gives me this excuse to try and do this live stream. So anyway, this is sketchbook number 8 of post-it notes, and here we are. So I figured that as I go along, I'd maybe talk through some of the ideas, if I can remember what on earth I was doing with them, as we stick the post-it notes in. So right at the start, this is a pretty great note. I really like this. This cat sort of comes up in my drawings quite a lot, but I kind of liked the sort of tautology of no service being closed, and it wasn't really clear whether that meant that service was actually available, because it's usually a no service booth, but I thought it was pretty funny, and it's a good place to start. This is a pretty simple pun, it's a smoothie. Haha. Kind of explains itself. It's baguette panniers, but for legs. I'm innovating here. This one's a pretty simple pun as well. It's a sockeye salmon. Haha. I actually really like this drawing of a sort of enterprising cat who has evidently hijacked a supermarket chiller and is using it to start a little business out down the alley. I kind of feel like there's half a good idea in there for a book, but who knows if I could get something like that published. I'm a big fan of guinea pigs. I grew up in a house that certainly had, I think it's fair to say, more than the average amount of guinea pigs. And they're brilliant. They're just such really chill creatures. But I was watching a basketball game when I drew this and thinking about the t-shirt cannon. And I thought it's kind of funny how the t-shirt cannon is kind of the size of a guinea pig when they roll the t-shirts up into the logs that they fire out. And part of me thought, well, if someone fired a guinea pig up to me, I'd probably be pretty delighted, as I think guinea pigs are great, but I don't think the guinea pig would enjoy the experience much. So here's my drawing about that anyway. This was me learning that there's a neighbourhood in, I think, Pakistan called Sultanabad, which I just thought was a wonderful name. And it's also kind of funny because a bad in German is the bath, and when you spend too long in the bad, your fingers turn into sultanas. And so I liked that name, and good on Pakistan for having somewhere named it. I don't even know what's going on in this one. Three-legged chicken? One about my dog causing chaos. It's actually kind of a bad drawing, but I don't think it'd leave me saved if I got the framing on the post-it note better. I think it's just bad. Not a great drawing either, but it's kind of an interesting idea. It's like a dragon that's breathing plant life instead of fire. I don't know what I was thinking there. Anyway, that's the first spread, so we've got a long way to go considering there are another 600 odd of these to stick. This is another drawing about my dog, who is a furry dustbin. I think this is just a Pope-mobile. Yeah, little Fiat Pope-mobile. Brilliant stuff. Not really much to say about that one, except for I drew it sideways and didn't notice, apparently. Brilliant. So, I mean, this is usually a reference point that helps me understand what time things were when I was doing these post-it notes. Have to assume that Wimbledon was on here, and that looks to me like Yannick Sinner, maybe? I don't know, I like the drawing. I'm not sure if this is a good drawing or not. I mean, it's a really bad drawing of me, but I kind of love the spaghetti and meatballs hair. It's how all of this hair of mine sometimes feels. feel like I've drawn this multiple times over and it's not even a good drawing, but there you go. Sometimes I'm scraping the barrel for ideas when I'm trying to get a drawing done every day. But there you go. Sometimes done is better than perfect. This one was, my neighbours ordered a pizza and the guy that was delivering it proved to be like a surprisingly old dude. I mean, he wasn't in a power scooter or anything, but he did look like he should have been retired, which was kind of made me sad and a little bit happy at the same time. I mean, good for him for still having his independence, but shame that he had to be a Domino's driver. I don't know. Telescopic dogs. I don't think there's anything clever here unless my memory's completely failing me. Telescopic dogs. I almost feel like I'm calling bingo numbers. Good, pretty simple one of like airport security queues and how the staff that work there are kind of like glorified lunch ladies. I don't know. I'm sure that's quite offensive to them, but it doesn't sound like a fun job. That's another really awful drawing, but it's an inline pigeon. So there you have it. Quite like that drawing as well of Ro and Mo, my robot and cat, just yelling into a giant telephone. I'm not sure where that idea is going though. Just kind of like it. I mean, that's a pretty basic pun as well. It's a scratching post, and scratching is what you do on turntables. It's not a good drawing. I like the drawing. Don't know if there was something clever there. this is up there with some of my more abstracting concept, I suppose. I think it was basically me thinking about the fact that the words meet and greet rhyme but aren't spelled the same. And I always love drawing K trucks and K cars anyway, so there you go, it's a celebration. Always a good one. It's alpacachino. Alpacachino? Alpacachino? Al Pacino. Yeah. I feel like I've drawn this idea multiple times over as well, but cows are really, really straight, and surprisingly so. Can't remember what I was trying to fix here, but soldering iron and tweezers, so I was trying to fix something electrical. It's a pretty good drawing. Okay. I was feeling very inspired when I did this spread. I think this one that I'm sticking down might have been a pitch for a record cover, or indeed I think a cassette tape that I did. But I'm not surprised that it wasn't accepted. Well, I don't know. Stuck upside down. Uh-oh. I feel like I had loads to talk about right at the start, but I don't know. I mean, this whole task of sticking them down is going to take me hours anyway, so I think we can accept the quiet moments. I think that was actually, I think that's meant to be a dog kennel at the top, and it's about how territorial my little dog is and how much she'll protect her little home from people that she actually just desperately wants to say hello to. Funny dog. I think this one is a cheap pun. I think it's about the banana that I can't remember. I think it's the one that we all eat now. It's called the Cavendish, the species of banana, and that's about Mark Cavendish, the cyclist, who, I don't know, he probably crashed out of the Tour de France or something. Anyway, that's what that is. Yeah. Progress. The hell? Yeah, that's pretty good. Friends. This working cats, I guess. A cat employed as a mouser. Yeah, I don't know, nothing clever there. Tried a bit too hard on that drawing. I think it either needed more curves or more angles, or fewer angles. But it's not right either way. This one has nothing to do with basketball aside from the fact that I like watching it. It's just another drawing where I wonder about the right strategy of trousering horses, I think. I assume there was nothing cleverer about it. But anyway. I mean, that one I remember is Calcatraz. Like Alcatraz the calculator, I guess. That's actually a really good drawing, although it's one of those ones where I think has like a real narrow Venn diagram of people who have experience with Henry Hoover and also people who think about Abraham Lincoln's stovepipe hat. But there you go, it's a good one. That's a simple pun, that's tumbling. Great. My dog in a pair of shorts because it must have been summer. This one was a record cover. It was much more coloured in when it was a finished record cover. I quite like how happy-go-lucky it is. There's not really much of a story about this, but several years ago I tried to start a Tumblr blog that I called Powerful Buttons, and it was meant to be a picture of how on electronic devices running from the sort of 70s to the early 2000s all had buttons that had some sort of generic superlative like mega bass or loudness and things like that, and I was going to try and collect photos of all of these buttons, but I basically started doing it too late, and it was like way after the iPod revolution, and then I realised I had no access to just like going out and cruising through 30 years of consumer electronic devices. But I like the idea there anyway. Here we are back at guinea pigs. As much as I like guinea pigs, they don't actually come up that often in my artwork, but that's a pretty good one of a cat being a servant to a guinea pig, because that would never happen. But yeah, it's a good one. I like that. And that's a pretty, I assume that's self-explanatory. It's about how some days you wake up and you're so convinced it's the weekend, and then you actually open your eyes and look at your phone or whatever and you realise it isn't, and it's so disappointing. It's no fun. I wonder what happens. Do you just like dream that you like lived several days of the week and that's why you're so convinced it's a weekend? I don't know. It's a complicated one, that. Trying to do an upside down pickup truck. I kind of like the idea more than the drawing. I don't know. That is a drawing of my dog. I don't know what was going on there, but there you have it. I think Frisbee's downstairs yipping in her sleep and I can hear her all the way upstairs. That's brilliant. That's actually a really good drawing, I think. I know my robots are pretty usually me scraping the barrel uninspired, but I think that's a pretty good sort of robot bird hybrid. I like that one. That's a good drawing about taking the day off and going to the beach as well. Laptop in the deck chair is great. It's a drawing of my neighbour's dog who had this splash pad that he liked to just sit in the summer. It was great. Bless him. Right, now we've got a definitive date here. This is me drawing pictures of the Olympics, and that's the BMX at the Olympics. So maybe the tennis player on the other side was the Olympic tennis? I don't know. Or maybe this was the start. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Some of these next ones are definitely Olympics though. I mean, that's got to be a drawing about having no ideas in the tank. Brilliant. Well done, Ricky. That's definitely another Olympics one. I'm a big fan of those photo finishes because everyone gets stretched out in such weird ways. This drawing looks completely mad, but it's actually quite accurate to how the photo finish was. This one is some variant of They Grow So Fast, because we do have this Monstera plant downstairs that we got really small, and it was just 3 tiny little leaves, and since we've had it, it's one plant that we've had that has been super successful and super happy, and it now hits the ceiling. It's so big, so that's quite satisfying, and that's a pretty good drawing about that. Yeah. That one is I find squirrels really hard to draw, and that's trying to simplify them a bit and not necessarily succeeding. It could be a worse drawing, but that's what that's about. Sometimes my drawings are captured. Did I see that or just imagine it? And that's a pretty good example of them, because I think I saw a cow once that had like stripes down its legs that made it look like it was wearing a tracksuit. It's not a great drawing, but a funny idea. That's quite good, of like a Sputnik grill. I don't know why I captioned that, but it's a good drawing. That's sanding. Yeah. It's a pretty good ghost chicken. I can hold it up there as well. It's just not sharp. Wow, that's rough. It's not a good drawing. I'll glue that down and move on. It's a better drawing. There was another drawing of my dog as a plane a few pages back, but very different to that. That's quite a good drawing in the scheme of things, but I don't know what I was thinking when I drew it. That one's also a good drawing, and I do remember what I was thinking. We went for a walk down the Thames, and I was kind of laughing at how the yachts that go cruising down the Thames there, without any sails or anything, just kind of look a bit like giant sneakers. Really weird. This one, the more I see it, the less I like it, but it was part of a good video that I did about how I had been hoarding postage labels for like more than a decade, and I decided to finally turn them into useful stickers, and I was trying to come up with some designs for them, and that was one of the designs that I like the sentiment of, but don't necessarily like the execution of in hindsight. I think the other stickers that I did in that video were better, but that's where that post-it note came from. As we breeze past a pickle version of the space shuttle. Don't know. Trying a bit hard on that one as well. That is a pretty good drawing. That's an old Vauxhall Cavalier that's been converted into a monster truck, and I just kind of love that idea. I think that's great. That's a good one. Oh, this one's a weird one. I spent like a day before the days of LLM based vibe coding, as they call it, trying to come up with a system that would generate me like pangrams of 3 words that are 5 letters each that never used the same letter twice. And this was inspired by one of the things that came up. Maybe it was 6 letters each. I can't really remember, but the thing didn't work out and it was a bad idea and it was a waste of time anyway. But there's the drawing and it's maybe it was 6 letters and it was like washed Android uplink or something. Although that repeats D, so it can't be that. I don't know. This one was remembering that my mum's mum, had a cat that was called Malibu, which was a really funny name for a cat. And funny because my nan professed that she didn't like to drink, let alone drink Malibu. But I know that she was a big fan of the Caribbean, so I think that's where the name came from. I don't know. Family. Self-portrait. It's a bad one. It's trying too hard. But at least I'm trying. Quite like this drawing as well, actually. I think the caption was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 9 is 7 times 9. I always struggle with that. That's 72 lives. It's about cats having 9 lives, I guess. There you go. I like the drawing anyway. Bus full of cats. There was another drawing a few pages back of a bird robot cross, but I think that one was much better than this. So I mean, it's a simple pun, but it makes me wonder what I was demolishing. I usually do demolition while Lily's away travelling. And if this was summer, it might have been when I started making my porch. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't actually demolishing anything and it was just an idea I had on a list that I finally thought, oh, I can draw that. Maybe there are some more clues on the next page. It's kind of like a diary, these sketchbooks. Very abstract diary though. I think this, oh, where's my button? This was meant to be chainmail, but it ended up being a bit fishy, which is pretty weird. There you have it. This is another classic of did I see it or just imagine it? And it was a horse that just had a brown spot on its bum, and it looked like it just had sat down in whatever causes horses to have colours. I thought it was pretty funny. That was me remembering that Windows have something called bat files. Yeah, all right. As B. Sanders, I mean, clearly I was working on something, but I can't remember what it was that I was working on now. Maybe it was the porch. I've got no idea. Oh no, it was after the porch. It was when I was doing the midroom, which there are plenty of videos about on my channel, if anyone wants to watch them. Oh, look at that. Looks like there might be some people watching this. That's crazy. Someone asking, when I was making my book, did I use ideas from my post-it notes? Absolutely. The book started with several post-it notes. And then the same person also asking, drawings have stories, and despite being one image, what tip do I have to improve that? I kind of want to say that you're asking the wrong person here, because the feedback that I tend to get from the publishing industry these days is that my stories need to be better, whatever that means. And so I guess I struggle to take these ideas and expand them out into stories that could become books. I don't know. Anyway, this drawing, I could be talking out my arse here, but I think that I read that there was official lists of names for colours for horses, and one of them was called Smoky Black, and that was me trying to draw that. I don't know. Oh, I'm not sure if that's a good drawing or not, but it's a good idea of like a Dracula chicken. I don't know what I was thinking when I drew that, but it works, it passes. This one was also a picture, a record cover. I was given like 3 images to sort of synthesize into one cover, and I had like a style that we were following from past singles, and I thought it really didn't look good, so I tried to hand draw it to give it a bit more personality, but I don't think the artists really liked it. So, you know, that's life as a cover designer. It's pretty weird. That was a result of Lily yelling at our dog, "Do not lick the dishwasher," because the dog's a scavenger. She's terrible. But that's a pretty funny sentence statement, taken out of context, or even put in context, to be honest. Now we're getting somewhere interesting. This is a series of 4 post-it notes. It's kind of a shame that they're spread over a couple of spreads rather than all next to each other. But all 4 post-it notes are called dog sandwich board. So there's a dog in a sandwich board. And the next one, I think this is the best drawing of them all. There's a board of dogs discussing sandwiches, so a dog sandwich board. And then we have a dog slash sandwich, the eternal debate of whether a hot dog is a sandwich or not, on a skateboard, so a dog sandwich board. And then the payoff of the gag, which is really quite tragic in hindsight, is a sandwich board, a billboard about dog sandwiches, which of course was a reference to America's last election and the whole fiasco about immigrants eating dogs. That was a complete fabrication, of course. But there you have it. What a sad time. It's a good one. It's a credible drawing. It's part Mona Lisa, part Apple Lisa. So Lisa's good. There's another question in the chat saying, any ideas for a new book? And I feel like I was kind of giving the same answer as the last question. I mean, there's hundreds of ideas here, but what I'm usually told by the publishing industry is make the stories better, and I don't know what that means. So I would love to do a new book. I've done plenty of like sketches and storyboards and stuff, but they don't usually bite, and I just don't really understand what the feedback means of make the stories better. I think it's just a polite way of being told that they don't want to work with me. But we all like to feel like victims. And I think I was very lucky to have Alley Cat Rally published in the first place. It's not like this is hyper detailed, but there's enough detail in there that you kind of almost miss what's going on. And I feel like, again, speaking of, do I have ideas for new stories? There's an idea in itself of robots in the fridge. Not robots, aliens. I mean, they could be robots, but like a lunar lander. I'm not sure why they're collecting lard though. Maybe there was a pun there that I forgot even while I was drawing it. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes trouble. Nothing to do with my post-it notes. But we can wait and see what happens while I stick a couple of these terrible notes in. Hi, Frisbee. Hi, dog. You want to come and say hello? Hi, Frizz. Camera shy. Simple gag there. Pots instead of stop. I mean, is it even a gag? It's just an anagram. Nicely drawn though. This one's a really bad drawing of what is quite an interesting fact, which is apparently horse chestnuts, which we know as conkers in the UK, are poisonous to horses, despite the name. Anyway, terrible drawing. That's a pretty good drawing, I have to assume, about feeling sick. Yeah, rough. There's another question there saying, are your post-it notes based on things you come across during your day? Either real items or conversations with people? A lot are, yeah. Inspiration comes from absolutely everywhere. And I guess this is a pretty good example of it. It's drawing of a horse at a bus stop, which would be kind of an absurd thing in itself, but I think it's because I walked past like a field of horses and their stables looked like a little bus stop in the field. Just looking at the world a little bit differently, I suppose. This is a really good one. It's no regrets. I mean, I find the phrase no regrets really funny anyway. It's filed in my mind in exactly the same space as tattoos. So I think about no regrets whenever I see people with tattoos, which is just me being judgy, I think. But no regrets is a pretty good pun on that, or wordplay on that. And maybe one day I will produce some of these posters and put them up in the woods near me or something. It's a good idea. I should come back to that. That's a simple, good drawing as well, a sort of a recursive thinking. That's often how it feels while I'm trying to do my post-it notes. Thinking about thinking, getting in a bit of a knot. This one fits the did I see it or just imagine it bill as well. And I was out walking through a field and I'm pretty sure I saw a Labrador just diving into the cattle trough that was in the field, because Labradors really like water, I guess. It was a sight to behold. That's a great drawing. It's kind of an awful drawing and a great one, but it's obviously it's a queen with a bucket of filler. Because I always like to sing that song to myself. She's a filler queen, whenever I'm filling holes in the wall when I'm working on my house. Registered. Alright, dog. You gonna come and say hello yet? No. This one's pretty simple wordplay again because I like watching the NBA, and that's sort of fading NBA star now. Russell Westbrook, except it's Brussels Westbrook. I know, it's a bad gag. Right, I think it's time for a break here for a minute. Right, I'm back with a banana and a fresh glass of water and a chew for the dog. So we'll get back to sticking these post-it notes down. Ungrateful dog. There's another question there. Again, hi zoo taps. Do I use rulers or tools in my drawings? Yeah, sometimes. The thing that I've learned more, I learned this from Laura Kampf, a YouTuber who I really enjoy watching videos of. It's just sort of using your finger along an edge to draw a straight line. That's probably what I did on this note. Do I have a pen in reach? There's my Wacom pen, that'll give you the idea. But I will often draw straight lines by putting my finger on the edge of the note and then running it along the edge of the note like that. And that usually works well for me. More informal than a ruler. These drawings on this spread aren't very good. It's a shame. Not good drawings, not good ideas, but that's what happens when you do these every day. Sometimes you go through a spell where I just don't feel inspired. I feel like I've got no ideas. And then other times I've got more ideas than I know what to do with, and so I start making lists of ideas. And that's kind of a dual-edged sword in itself, because sometimes I go back to the list and have no idea what I was thinking with what I'd written down. And sometimes that gives me a new idea. But that's kind of the fun of it. That's a pretty simple pun there. It's knee pads. Wow. I just had to swap out the battery in my big camera. I have to remember to put that on to charge in a bit. That's a better drawing. It's a sort of a long chicken, kind of a Dachshund inspired chicken. That's actually a really good drawing, and by far the best drawing on this spread of post-it notes. It's a bird's nest. It's sort of punning on a nest of tables, and a throwback to the space shuttle that flew on the back of the 747, which was just a mad thing that's kind of hard to believe ever actually happened as well. Pretty good drawing about being in a bad mood. Looks like winter though. It's kind of like an e-reader from another decade. It's a bad drawing, but quite a good idea. I like that. Peahen Books, I wrote. Thanks for that, past Ricky. And that's a drawing about how my dog needs to come with a warning light. Vampires? Don't know if there was anything more to that than that. Oh, I feel like there was a pun there, but I can't remember what. It's got 12 legs. I don't know if that's anything there. I don't know. actually really, really like this drawing. Lily and I were visiting, I guess, like a stately home of sorts, and they had this sculpture garden. There was this marble sculpture of this naked hunter guy with his dog that I thought was just such an obscene pose, but I really liked it, and so I drew my own version of it, of me with the dog. And I think my caption was something to the effect of, if anyone ever needs to make a statue of me for some unreasonable purpose, then I would like it to be that. Because I just thought it was so ridiculous and so wonderful, and I thought I actually did an okay job of drawing it as well. And this shouldn't require too much explanation. It's my take on populist politics, in which it's pretty easy to come up with scapegoats for anything, including blaming poor immigrants. And it's sad how easy that works. Oh, dog. You just had the treat. You can have the empty bag if you really want. It's just paper. The background noises you're hearing are my dog ripping up the paper bag that her treat came in. So hopefully she'll be done soon and it's not too much of a disturbance. Speaking of my dog, that's a nice drawing of her, who I think, well, except for the errors there where I drew my own leg where I shouldn't have. But she's a big fan of Parmesan, and when the Parmesan comes out, she always tries to trip me up, because I think she hopes that it will make me drop some for her. She's a clever little devil. I wonder why I was thinking about peahens so much this week. It's a Powell brick, that's a pretty simple one. I actually really like that drawing, and for all my protestations that squirrels are really hard to draw, I think that's quite a good one. I kind of like the idea of squirrels being like mobile transmission stations. I can't remember if there was anything clever about it, but there you have it. It's a good drawing. Good idea somewhere. a safe dishwasher. I can't really remember what the idea was there. I love the logo for Dell, the company that makes tail lifts for trucks. I think it's a brilliant logo. And I've been tempted for a long time to try and find one of their platform flags with the logo on it that I could just have as a piece of art on my wall, but I feel like there must be some kind of secret truck part of the internet where I could get one that I haven't discovered yet. So I don't know. Simple pun on the word fibre. Yeah. Sometimes I do these drawings of cars and vehicles where I think, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I made the car a lot shorter or something like that? And then I draw it and it just kind of looks normal and natural and not as funny as I thought. I've no idea what I was reinventing here, but well, speaking of ideas and scraping the barrel for them, this is a pretty good example of... I actually really love Wikipedia. I'm a big fan of it. Not necessarily because I feel strongly about the sort of the veracity of the content, but because it's full of hyperlinks, and hyperlinks are the best thing about the internet that isn't nearly as good as it used to be. But Wikipedia is amazing for it, and you can end up somewhere you just completely didn't expect. Like in that case, it was a picture of a really cool, ridiculous looking sort of two-person side-by-side snowmobile, which is not anything I'd ever thought existed. I thought that were just sort of the motorbike configuration, but that I found really quite inspiring when I was struggling to find an idea. So yeah, Wikipedia, brilliant. my dog? You gonna come and say hello yet? Hi, Frisbee. This was a drawing about me painting the mural in the hospital records office, which there's a good video about on my channel if you haven't been to see it. And this drawing also relates to that experience, which is not a surprise because it took a few days to do that mural. But that was about being a tourist in your own city, which at least my dog was, taking her to a new neighbourhood and allowing her to experience all of the different smells and sights and sounds of somewhere different that really wasn't anywhere that I feel particularly unfamiliar with. So speaking of tools that I use, these two post-it notes, I feel like a keytar otter is something that I came up with probably about 20 years ago and I've no idea why. But anyway, I'm not afraid of using a light box for my drawings, particularly if I get like one part of it right but get the framing so severely wrong. I'm not afraid of getting the light box out. But it seems kind of stupid considering how adept I am at using computers, but I used the lightbox in that case to duplicate them, copy and paste, and I thought that was pretty good. Can I help you? You want to come and say hello? Nope. Lost count there. This is a really bad drawing. I think this was related to the Goat Yard project. It wasn't actually from doing the Goat Yard artwork, but this might have been from making the video of it. That video is on my channel, and I think it's quite a good video. It's certainly much better than this drawing. Not a good drawing. Sure, this one means more to me than it does to anyone else, but it's the first time I'd ever had a positive COVID test, which was, I don't know, this must have been early 2025 maybe. So I think I did pretty good making it 5 years before I did, but it's all a bit meaningless anyway at that point. I think this one must have been a case of me sort of reading a headline and not realising I did, because I drew this and then like the next day there was a story in the news about mice who had been trained to drive little cars, and I feel like I must have read the headline and thought, oh, that's a really funny idea, and not really absorbed it, and then found the article a day later and discovered that I'd actually just bitten the idea wholesale. There's a pack of vacuum cleaners. It's a decent drawing. I assume it relates to the fact that I think of my dog as a little vacuum cleaner sometimes, the way she comes and hoovers up the crumbs on the floor, particularly while I'm cooking. But I don't know why I drew them as a pack. Good drawing though. Happy with that. And a good one in the world of mad vehicles as well. It's sort of a peanut monster truck that also kind of has a bit of aeroplane in it. I really like that. I feel like maybe one day I could do a kid's book that's all just full of ridiculous vehicles in a sort of a Richard Scarry style. And that's the sort of thing that we would find in there. Racing Home asks, how's the building project coming along? It's actually going really well. It's been happening. I've been working on it for the past 3 weeks or so. The weather turned bad today for the first time in a few weeks, so that's given me an opportunity to do this, but it is happening, and there will be a new video about the next stage. I don't want to commit, in a few weeks. But I am recording what I'm doing, and progress is finally happening again, so I am really happy about that. Anyway, this drawing I think must have been about Thanksgiving in America, because they just love butter. And I can say that because my partner's American. A pretty funny one. I was looking at a local map, as one does, and because maps have businesses and facilities highlighted on them, I noticed one that was labelled Osprey Charging Station. And I thought, what a funny thing to charge an Osprey. But I guess that was just the brand name of the charging station. I remember this one was captured None More Golf. And I'm not really sure why, although I certainly have a history of thinking about the sport of golf as like a unit of measure. There was a post-it I did a few years back that had a sign saying you have to be this much golf to play this hole or something like that, and I quite liked that, but I don't know why None More Golf. This is a pretty good drawing. I can't vouch for its technical accuracy, but the pun there is transmission, and it's a vehicle transmission hooked up to broadcast transmission. I quite like that idea. I think there's a good idea in there as well, but probably too complex for a picture book. And speaking of ideas, here's a good idea in a vacuum, which is a pretty good pun, I think. Quite like that. The Vac Repair Shop asks, is Helena the Hoover still going strong? Definitely, yes. She remains incredibly useful in my workshop and gets used every single time I'm out there. The sort of dust collection setup that I made for my table saw kind of failed, but the Hoover still works, and I'm working on improving the dust collection, so I'm quite happy about that. There's a good drawing. I kind of like this as an idea, one that I feel like, because my partner Lily did a couple of pop-ups with her baked goods, because she's an award-winning baker, which she hates me saying. She's an award-winning baker, so I'll say it once more. We did some pop-up shops, and I was manning the card payment machine, and it made me think that it would be quite funny to train a squirrel to operate the card payment machine, because there's not really much that you have to do with it, aside from gesture it in the direction of the customer. But I quite like that idea anyway. There's a pretty good pun as well. It's a leaf through a book. Yeah. I've no idea what I was thinking with that, but that's not a bad drawing. That's a variation on a common theme about my dog being territorial, except this time it's a fort, which is quite nice. I quite like that fort. It reminds me of one of my favourite Lego models I had as a kid, which I noticed last time I visited my brother. My nephews have reconstructed and are enjoying, which is brilliant. I don't know what this sausage boat is about. I actually think that's quite a good drawing of a funny vehicle as well, of like a mobile helipad was the idea. I don't think that necessarily comes through, but comes through enough for me to recognise it, so it's my journal of ideas and it works for me, so I'm quite happy about that. It's meant to be like a zebra with alternative stripes. I think I might have captioned it Quebra with a Q instead of a Z, which I thought was pretty good, but it doesn't really work as well when I'm just speaking out loud. I don't know. It's a good drawing. I can't remember what inspired it. I'm not sure what cats I'd seen prowling around, but maybe there was a pun there, but I don't know. Still a good drawing. This one's pretty good. I think it's a bit of a meme that men think about the military all the time, and I generally hate the military, but I do like all the sort of the old paintings you get of all of the military regalia, and this was sort of comparing that ridiculous regalia to the Christmas tree that we were probably putting up at the time. That's really good, actually. That's a really well sort of simmered down picture of a sleeping animal. Come up with these fictional businesses all the time, and one that I came up with a long time ago is the National Association of Procrastinators, or NAP, which of course I had to come up with a pun for that, and I think that would make a good logo for that, and maybe I should make that a t-shirt someday. Like a good idea. That's a nice drawing as well, of Ro and Mo sailing on a gurney. I can't really remember what that was about. I'm not sure if we had any encounters with the hospital at that point in my life, but I've certainly had a few more recently. I don't know. It's a good one as well. It's like a missile silo, but it's a baguette silo. Kind of like that idea. I like the idea of the world's biggest baguette. I feel like there's a good sort of children's book waiting to happen. Maybe I just need a ghostwriter. A good fish tree. I don't know why, but it's a good fish tree. Simple pun, it's cookies. Oh, finally my dog tired out. I think that must have been Christmas. Yeah, it was Christmas actually. The next note reminds me of how it was Christmas. This is said note. And it did really make me laugh at the time, because I had my brother and my nephews come over, and they were sort of flagging by the end of the day and getting a little bit bored. And so my brother and I tried to find them something to occupy them, which consisted of me digging out my old PlayStation 2 from the attic and hooking it up to the TV and putting them in front of some racing game or other. It might have been Need for Speed. And then proceeding to watch one of my nephews just find endless amusement in just trying to destroy one of the buses that was like an NPC in the game. Which was pretty funny in itself, but made even funnier when my brother pointed out that he spent most of his life living in a house that was basically across the street from a bus garage. So he had some feelings about buses that I think he was taking out there without realising it. But that did make me laugh. This yeah, what's his name? I was listening to the reggae classic Sideshow by Barry Biggs, and it's guaranteed to make you cry, and that kind of made me think about about No More Tears shampoos and what would be the worst possible version of that, and I thought about how onions make you cry and shampoo makes you cry, and that's what I came up with there, which is just like a brilliantly awful idea. Quite like that. This one's a decent drawing. It was meant to be a pun on stamped cookies, but it ended up sending me down a rabbit hole of wondering about, in this new age of stamps that all have QR codes in them, if a stamp that doesn't have a QR code will look weird and old-fashioned to young people in a couple of years, or whether they'll just never interact with stamps to think about that. Wait for the future. This post-it note was about the fact that I find both showering and video editing have something in common, which is that I never want to go and do them, but once I start doing them, I really like the activity and don't want it to end and don't want to stop once I'm in it. Don't know what it is about showering and video editing in particular, but not concurrently, that would be madness. That's quite a good drawing there, a nice little bit of recursion. As much as one can get in a little post-it note anyway. Yeah. This one was about me rediscovering my grand's sewing machine that that I ended up adopting, which when I adopted it, for some reason I was convinced was a brother, but I finally came to use it about 4 years later for the first time, and I discovered it was actually a Bernina. So this was meant to be Bernie and Bernina, which I guess kind of looks like him, but it's not my best drawing. This was another did I see it or just imagine it, and it was a person that I saw who appeared to be using a concrete litter bin as a seat to rest on. It kind of made it look like they were sitting in the bin, which was pretty funny. I've no idea what was going on. Excuse me. I had no idea what was going on here. Nope, upside down. That was actually a really good drawing. Really sort of successful in its simplicity. I must have used a ruler to draw that triangle so perfectly though. In fact, I can see some of the pencil measuring lines still. Couple of drawings here about like transmission and signal, but I'm not really sure why. I wonder what was happening. This was another did I see it or just imagine it? And I think I was out walking and I saw a guy who was working on his minivan, and it appeared that his dog was out there underneath there working on it with him, which was pretty funny. Actually really like this post-it note. It's kind of a terrible drawing and also kind of perfect in its charm, but I can't remember what happened. I feel like I ended up getting my hands involved in 2 random crushing accidents in 1 week. I can't remember what one of them was, but I think one of them was me managing to like get my hand caught in the crank of my bicycle, which definitely wasn't fun, but didn't cause any meaningful damage. But anyway, I think the style of the image came from, I'm totally obsessed with this Japanese TV show called The Making, which there are a million things like this on YouTube these days, but it's this show that I think dates back to what must be the early 2000s at least, where they just show you with no talking and with the same soundtrack in every single episode, just something being made in a factory. And even though there are a lot of Japanese captions that I just don't understand at all, there's it's plenty interesting to follow along with, and there's loads to learn from it, and it's brilliant. And I just love the music on it now because I've watched them all over and over so many times. But I think in one episode I did see whatever they were making was going through this big roller thing, and it had this warning sign on it that was just absolutely wonderful. And I think that was me adapting that warning sign. I think I might have tried to recreate it in the computer, and maybe it lost its charm a little bit in doing so, or maybe it was alright, I don't know. But anyway, that was a really long story about a post-it note that I now stuck in 4 notes ago. That's not a bad drawing about the general feeling of winter and wanting to hide under a blanket and just not pay attention to the world. Quite like that as well, and maybe the drawing could be a little bit better, but I liked the little one-note story of a robot that found the boy really attractive and wanted to go and swim to go and visit it. It's a pretty good one as well. I think that was me trying to draw a picture of a wet sheep. Again, speaking of ideas for kids' books, I've had an idea in my head for a long time about a book about making a really great treehouse. And this was a sort of an exploration of that. Not that I've managed to make the story better for it yet. good did I see it or just imagine it one, a completely absurd sign I saw in a nearby town. Madness. And a good pair of post-it notes. This one is a dog on a catwalk. And this one is a cat on a dog walk. Right. Let's see how many I've done, because I think that's a pretty good place to leave it for today. That's 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 96, 108, 120, 132, 144, 156, 168, 180, 192, 204, 218. I've missed one. 192, 204, 218, 216, 268, 240. 238, 228, 240, 252, 264, 264. So not quite halfway, but I've been out this for about 2.5 hours now. Thank you to anyone who's bothered watching. But it's time for me to feed the dog and then make some food to feed the humans. And I might come back and finish this tomorrow, but on a later session, maybe after dinner. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, thank you all for your time and attention. Keep it real.